So in Exodus 17, verse 5, it says, "And the Lord said to Moses, Go out before the people, and take with you some of the elders of Israel, and take in your hand your rod with which you struck the river, and go. Behold, I will stand before you there on the rock in Horeb, and you shall strike the rock, and water will come out of it, that the people may drink." And Moses did so in the sight of the elders. Now, this is important to pay attention to because this is the place where Moses was first instructed to strike the rock. But now, let's go to Numbers chapter 20, verse 8. In Numbers chapter 20, verse 7, it says, "Then the Lord spoke to Moses, saying, Take the rod, you and your brother Aaron, gather the congregation together, speak to the rock before their eyes, and it will yield its water. Thus you shall bring water for them out of the rock, and give drink to the congregation and their animals." So Moses took the rod from before the Lord as he commanded him. And Moses and Aaron gathered the assembly together before the rock, and he said to them, "Hear now, you rebels, must we bring water for you out of this rock?" So you can hear that Moses is very frustrated with the people at this point. And so here in Numbers chapter 20, verse 11, it says, "Then Moses lifted his hand and struck the rock twice with his rod, and water came out abundantly, and the congregation and their animals drank." Now, this is remarkable that the water still came out of the rock regardless of Moses' disobedience. But it's very important to understand that what Moses did was huge. It was a very big act of disobedience, but for you and I, it doesn't seem like that big of a deal. But it's huge because in Numbers 20, verse 12, it says, "Then the Lord spoke to Moses and Aaron, because you did not believe me to hallow me in the eyes of the children of Israel, therefore you shall not bring this assembly into the land which I have given them." And so because of their act of disobedience, they were not allowed to go into the promised land. So what is the rock representing here? The rock, if you are a student of the Bible, you probably know what the rock represents. In 1 Corinthians chapter 10, verse 4, Paul tells us what that rock was. Because in 1 Corinthians chapter 10, verse 4, Paul says, "And all drank the same spiritual drink, for they drank of that spiritual rock that followed them, and that rock was Christ." So what's the big deal of the entire thing? Well, it is a big deal because of the model that it would have represented. The model is so vital to understand. All throughout the Bible, there are models. There's types of everything going on, and you just need to pay attention to it. But this is really cool because what this model would have represented is if Moses would have listened, it would have represented the first coming of Jesus and his second coming. Because the first coming is when the rock was struck, is when Christ was struck. And that represents his first coming. The second coming, if he would have listened, he was supposed to speak to the rock. And that tells us, we know that the second coming, there's things that need to happen before the second coming occurs. The second coming is different than the rapture. The second coming, the Jewish people need to petition his return. In Hosea chapter 5, verse 15, it says this, this is God saying, "I will return again to my place till they acknowledge their offense. Then they will seek my face. In their affliction, they will earnestly seek me." So Hosea 5:15 is saying they need to acknowledge their offense. What was their offense? Their offense was the rejection of Jesus Christ. And so what do they need to say in order to petition his return? Well, if you go to Matthew chapter 23, verse 39, Matthew chapter 23, verse 39, Jesus says this, "For I say to you, you shall see me no more till you say, Blessed is he who comes in the name of the Lord." So this whole model that you see in Exodus and Numbers where God tells Moses to strike the rock the first time and then to speak to the rock the second time would have been a model. It would have been a perfect model if Moses listened. But Moses didn't listen. And so it made the model corrupt. It ruined the model, which was why Moses wasn't allowed to go into the promised land, because Moses struck the rock the first time and he struck the rock the second time. That ruined the model. The model should have been the rock being struck the first time, which is, Isaiah 53, how he was, it talks about the crucifixion. And then the second time, it would have represented the Jewish people crying out, and they are petitioning his return. So it's important to pay attention to these details. I think it's pretty neat, but hope this helps. Thanks, guys.